across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good evening. You know when you got a really nice show already or ready to roll and then something massive happens and you have to rip everything up and start again? Well, that. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 03 44499 1000 or WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. That's 0344499 1000. It is Thursday, June the 5th. Here's what's coming up. As I just alluded to, sensation as Reform UK chairman dramatically quits. That's Zia Yusuf, of course. Sensation as the Reform UK chairman, Zia Yusuf, dramatically quits Nigel Farage's party, posting a curt farewell on social media, declaring, "I no longer believe working to get a reform government is a good use of my time and hereby resign as chairman." I think there's a lot more to the story than just that. A political earthquake sending shockwaves through Westminster. Shades of Rupert Lowe's sudden departure 3 months ago. But we'll try to get to the bottom of just what the hell is going on. Farage's gang recovered swiftly after the Lowe disaster. Can they do it again? As I was just saying to Alex Phillips and Tim Montgomery, this is on another level to what happened with Rupert Lowe. This is the chairman of the party, the face of the party, does a lot of media. This is a seismic disaster for Reform. I believe they can recover. I believe Nigel Farage has got the talent, the charisma and the power to pull the party through this. What do you think? 0344499 1000. In other news, Labour and the Tories both come up with their solutions to the migrant crisis. Sadly, neither of them plan to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. So, basically, forget it. Although, drumroll, Kemi Badenoch is talking about a review into Britain's subordination to a foreign court. She wants to review Britain's membership of the European Convention on Human Rights and its subjugation, its subordination to the European Court of Human Rights. We have to do what the ECHR tells us. Keir Starmer will never leave that. He loves all that stuff. Kemi Badenoch, who having previously said she wouldn't leave, now says she will review it. Forget it, Kemi. Just quit. Just quit. Because if you don't, isn't it the case that the migrant crisis will be with us forever and just get worse and worse and worse? 0344499 1000. And also, Greta goes to Gaza. Having given up on saving the planet after the disappointing failure of her prediction that humanity would be destroyed by climate change by 2023, the Scandinavian doom goblin has moved on to saving the people of the non-state of Palestine. She's on a boat in the Mediterranean, heading for the Middle East with a performative cargo of aid. Israel says it won't let her get anywhere near the war zone. I hope they stick to this because she's playing with fire here. What do you think about Ms. Thunberg's mission? Immature, mad, dangerous, narcissistic, stupid, but all of that taken on board. Isn't this just way above Gormless Greta's pay grade? 0344499 1000. Meanwhile, there's still Meghan. We need to talk about the Duchess and that hapless husband of hers, the twerking, Harry's dad dancing, the pictures of the kids, and they call this privacy? What on earth is going on? Kinsey Schofield joins me at 9 o'clock to talk about this. 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And on this dramatic day, let's go straight over to someone, I think it's fair to say knows a lot about reform and what makes that party tick. She is Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Good evening.
Well, your take on what's happened here. I mean, obviously, it's a very dramatic story. We're hearing that Zia Yusuf was very unhappy with Sarah Pochin's debut question in the House of Commons yesterday, which, by the way, you and I talked about it. I thought it was a very good question, which was to the Prime Minister, does he plan to ban the burqa? The Prime Minister ran away from that question, and we held a debate on this show later on, proving that the people really, really do want to debate this. So I disagree with Yusuf's contention that this was a dumb question. I don't think he's right there, but I'm sure there's far more to this story than Zia Yusuf not liking Sarah Pochin's question yesterday. So your take on everything?
Well, I think that Zia Yusuf has had an awful lot of grief over the last 24 hours from all the kind of quarters that you can imagine following that question from Sarah Pochin. I mean, it's interesting, actually, looking at polling on the issue of whether we in the UK should ban the burqa. There's a majority of people in the UK actually in favour of that. But be that as it may, I think that Zia openly said he wasn't aware that she was going to ask that question. That was just a communications slip up. You know, it happens. Everybody's very busy. There's a by-election in Scotland today. You know, this sort of stuff happens. So I am sure that he didn't resign because of the burqa question. There's been stuff going on in the background for quite some time now. And my take on it is that it's really, really difficult, and in fact virtually unheard of, to go from zero political experience, as Zia Yusuf had when he became chairman of Reform, into such a position in the party that is causing a political earthquake. It's a bit like somebody who's never had any journalistic experience suddenly becoming the chief reporter for the Sunday Times. You know, it's going to be very difficult and very exposing and very brutal. And, you know, Zia went from 0 to 100 in terms of political profile, and it's bumpy, it's brutal out there. You know, Reform is causing a political earthquake at this point. It's way ahead in the polls of the other two main parties. And when you're in that position, you really, really are absolutely in the firing line from all sorts of places. And, you know, people like Nigel Farage and Richard Tice have been doing this for a very, very long time, and they're used to dealing with the brickbats. It's very different if your background is a business background and you're used to a very corporate life, and then suddenly you're getting all the grief that goes with.
Yeah, no, she hasn't frozen, has she? Is she? I think she may have frozen. So, but I was going to put. Well, let me read out Zia Yusuf's final tweet on this. This is what he tweeted an hour or so ago. 11 months ago, I became chairman of Reform. I've worked full-time as a volunteer to take the party from 14 to 30%, quadrupled its membership and delivered historic electoral results. I no longer believe working to get a Reform government elected is a good use of my time, and hereby resign the office. That is a strange tweet. That's a strange way to sign off, and you can tell there's some sort of bad feeling going on there. And as Isabel was just saying, he's a businessman. The world of politics is different. Now, there's no doubt that this is on another level to what happened when Rupert Lowe quit 3 months ago. 3 months ago to this day, apparently. That was bad, but as we all predicted, Reform UK got over that pretty damn quickly, and we know what happened in the local and national elections. They stormed it, absolute triumph. Now, the chairman quitting like this, in such a sort of dramatic and sudden and rather curt way, now that is much worse than Rupert Lowe quitting. There's no doubt about this. So the big question is, and I know that a lot of our audience, a lot of Reform supporters and members around the country will be thinking, oh my God, is this the end of the road and all that? Look, it's bad. But Nigel Farage is the heart and soul of this party. He will keep it together, and you know what they say, a week in politics is a long time. In a week's time, this probably won't be making headlines anymore, and the Reform story, I believe, will continue apace. They've got some repairing to do. They'll have to face some hostile headlines, particularly in the left-wing press. The Guardian is going to have a field day with this. But, you know, it will fairly quickly be forgotten. You'd be surprised. They've got some work to do. They'll need to, you know, find a new chairman and regroup. But if you're disappointed by this, I think a lot of people probably are, I believe Reform UK will get over this. So in a little while, we're just trying to get Isabel back. She's frozen completely and we've lost her. Great. But in a little while, we'll be joined by Ben Habib, of course, who also quit the party last year. So we'll get his story as well. So that'll be coming up fairly soon. Let me know what you think about this, though, particularly if you're a Reform supporter or if you're not a Reform supporter. But what do you think about this? As I said to Isabel, there seems to be talk that he was very upset by Sarah Pochin's debut question yesterday in the House of Commons when she asked the Prime Minister whether or not he was thinking of banning the burqa. Of course, he ran away from that question. Now, Yusuf described this as a dumb question. I don't think it was a dumb question at all. I thought it was a very good question. Very good question. Let me know what you think about that. Was Sarah Pochin wrong to ask that question? Anyway, while we wait to try and restore our connection to Isabel, we'll talk to Andrew in Halifax. Hello, Andrew. Are you a Reform UK member?
No, but I am a Reform voter.
Okay. What's your feeling about this?
Well, I think it's very telling, both the issue on which Yusuf resigned and the timing. Because to me, it seemed to be that the very first time he has to choose between upholding British values or upholding Islamic ones, he made his choice quite convincingly. And I also think he's done it on a day when there's a by-election in Scotland to damage the party. So I'm annoyed, but I'm not surprised. I think the burqa is a hideous monstrosity that has no place in any Western society, or indeed any society that values women's equality.
I'll tell you what, Andrew, I mean, we did it last night on this show as a debate. And the engagement from the audience was enormous. People are very much interested in debating this issue. A lot of people want to ban it. A lot of people don't want to ban it. But it is a discussion. It's a conversation that this nation needs to have. And, you know, Zia Yusuf, who I think, you know, he's a man of great talent. I've got a lot of time for him. He's done brilliant work so far for Reform. But I don't think he should have dismissed Reform's amazing new MP who won that by-election incredibly by just 6 votes, overturning a huge Labour majority. Don't think he should have dismissed that question as dumb, but I don't think also that we should even begin to interpret Yusuf's departure as purely down to Sarah Pochin's question. Andrew, very good point. Thank you for ringing. I've got to move on. Thanks, mate. I think we've got Isabel back. Isabel, hi. So yeah, of course, it would have happened, wouldn't it, today?
Of all nights.
Yeah, go on.
Apologies for that. And if you lose me again, I'm going to try a plan C.
Okay.
But I heard you saying that you don't think that we could put Zia Yusuf's departure purely down to Sarah Poachin's question. You're absolutely right. I would say that's probably not even 1% of what has happened here.
Yeah.
I was explaining that he's been taking a lot of grief about that, but that is not the reason that he has decided to step away.
I mean, what is the mood in the... I mean, you're well connected there. What is the mood in the party about this?
Well, I think that opinions will differ.
Okay.
Within the party about it. What I would say is I'm seeing an awful lot of absolute nonsense tonight on social media from commentators, particularly those from the Tories and Labour, but also from some commentariat types, trying to suggest that this is because there's not enough space in the room for more than one ego. You know, the suggestion being that Nigel Farage could not cope with Zia Yusuf's rising political profile. Nothing could be further from the truth. I cannot emphasise enough that this has nothing whatsoever to do with that. Nigel Farage hugely valued Zia Yusuf.
I agree with you. I know this for a fact that I know that Nigel's very upset about this, and that he was close.
Who actually wants to spend all their days in an unpaid role, toiling away, setting up branch structures? Not many people are up for that kind of thankless work. You know, it is a complex and incredibly draining job. And Zia Yusuf did that job. Nigel doesn't want to do that stuff. It's not what he's there to do. So the idea that Nigel has in some way got rid of Zia Yusuf because he in some way resents Zia Yusuf's profile, that is absolute nonsense.
Well, I do have some connections there, and I know that the story is the reverse of that. Nigel's upset about this and had a great deal of time for Yusuf. And, you know, Zia was a brilliant performer for this party, great media performer, sold the message brilliantly. So it's a sad moment, but your thoughts on how reform can move forward after this? As I say, this is... if Rupert Lowe's departure exactly 3 months ago to this day apparently was a blip, this is an Uber blip, but I still think it's a blip. You know, one man leaving, albeit an important man, that does not destroy the project.
Not in the slightest. And I know that reform's critics and all those who are terrified by the rise of reform will be desperate to say, oh, this is a catastrophe, this is a disaster. The party, what's really interesting now is the party is so much bigger than one or two or three personalities. You know, this is a whole different beast to what it was, you know, even 6 months ago. So yes, it's disappointing. Nobody would want it to have played out in this way with Zia Yusuf, but he was just the chairman in the same way that, you know, Richard Tice is just the deputy leader and Nigel is just the leader. There is a whole party here. It is a mass movement now, over 230,000 members, and more importantly, millions of people up and down the country that support reform. So it's bigger than individual personalities now. I know that's rough for Labour and the Conservatives to accept, but in a sense, reform is like them now. You know, it certainly can survive a few issues with moving positions of personnel.
Yeah, and there will be, and particularly in the more left-wing elements of the press, particularly The Guardian, etc., tomorrow there will be a sort of vulture feast on this, and it will be exactly reminiscent of the vulture feast they enjoyed after Rupert Lowe quit. This is the end. It's all over. I mean, I remember because I was presenting the Drive Time show here on the day Rupert Lowe quit, and we had to completely regroup, like we're having to regroup now. And the sort of mood was, oh my God, it's the end of the road. But of course it wasn't. It was actually quite a minor blip. Now this is as I say, this is a bigger blip, but you'll be surprised how quickly this will be consigned to the scrap heap of political history. And I believe Reform UK will get over this just fine.
I mean, and the reason that it's not such a huge deal also is because Zia Yusuf was relatively new to, as I said, to politics, and a lot of reform supporters were not backing reform because of Zia Yusuf. That's no disrespect to him, but he had an operational role. He was very, very good on the media, and that was highly valued. But his role in the party was operational. Nigel was a leader, Richard Tice is a deputy leader. There are 5 MPs. Zia Yusuf had a role behind the scenes, really, at HQ. On the one hand, on the other hand, yes, he was doing media, but he wasn't the party leader.
Indeed. Can I just ask you one last question? We're going to go to break in just a second, then we're going to be joined by former Reform UK Deputy Ben Habib. But can I just ask you this, Isabel? What do you make of the incredibly curt nature of Zia Yusuf's departing tweet? Which is, he talks about his achievements, which have been remarkable, quadrupled the membership, delivered historic electoral results, absolutely. But then he just signs off with this: I no longer believe working to get a reform government elected is a good use of my time and hereby resign the office. That's very curt, and it looks like he's very upset with at least somebody.
Well, I suspect that he's extremely tired, and I don't blame him. One doesn't always get one's words quite right when one is weary. And I think he's had an awful 24 hours being bashed around by people who have very strong views one way or another on that burqa thing. And I suspect that is what lies behind the tone of that tweet.
Okay.
He did not expect to walk away in this manner, but something about the last 24 hours has just been a little bit too much.
Okay. Stay where you are, Isabel. We'll be joined by Ben Habib after these messages.
If you're having a sick day or you're having a mental health day or whatever, you're not going to go to school and you're not going to go to work. And maybe if that's, happens to a few people once or twice, that's fine. But the numbers today show this is happening, millions of times. And what really worries me is not the sick days, but it's when the sick days become sick weeks and become sick months. Yeah. And then you're out of work completely, especially with these mental health ones. Often we know once people go off work for mental health, the chances of them going back are often very slim.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, a warm welcome to the show to former Deputy Leader of Reform UK and now Chair of the Great British PAC, Ben Habib. Welcome, Ben.
Good evening, Kevin. Good to see you.
Good to see you, and thanks for joining us. Now, it was the 28th of November, about 7 months ago, that you quit Reform UK. Now the chairman, Zia Yusuf, has quit. I'm sure you're not party to the internal details on the machinations that has led to this dramatic moment, but what are your thoughts on what has happened and what are the ramifications, in your view, for reform?
So, the cause of him leaving, the trigger point was the question of the burqa. And it is a question to which reform should have a ready answer. Reform has talked, extensively and correctly, in my view, about the failures of multiculturalism, and it should have a formed view on the burqa. The fact that the chairman of the party is at odds with one of the MPs over something as fundamental as that question says to me what I already knew, frankly, Kevin, which is that the party doesn't have a joined-up political philosophy. And you and I have discussed this many times in the past. We've discussed how it was peculiar, for example, that Charlie Mullins was put forward as a candidate, that they'd contemplate Shamima Begum coming back to the United Kingdom, and so on and so forth. There are many, many examples of where there's a political an absence of a joined-up political philosophy in reform. And it comes down, and that, I think, is significantly a result of Farage being a superb campaigner, but actually himself not having a political philosophy. And if you don't have a philosophy, then you don't readily have answers to questions, thorny questions, but a very important question like the burqa. And then the other issue that has dogged reform and will go on dogging reform, and an issue for which I campaigned, incessantly in my last few months with the party, is that it has to have a proper constitution where there are checks and balances in place, proper processes where people are accountable. And if that had been the case, you wouldn't have an MP going into PMQs asking a question which would cause affront to the chairman. Yeah, it just wouldn't happen. But I mean, and then you wouldn't have the chairman tweeting against a fellow MP. A proper checks and balances in an organisation would have prohibited that from happening. And if Farage had listened to me and actually adopted a proper constitution, absolutely no way would you have seen the tweet from Zia Yusuf, was it yesterday morning or this morning, I can't remember, when he said that Sarah Potchin was dumb. That is an unconscionable tweet from the chairman of a party about an MP. It's just because he had to, in my view, any decent party, he should have been sacked after putting that out.
Well, we got the same kind of result in the end, I guess.
We got the same result, yeah.
I've got Isabel Oakeshott on the line. What do you say, Isabel, to Ben's charge that what we're talking about here, in Ben's view, is a lack of discipline on policies generally, and that Reform UK should have had a policy in place on their approach to the burqa? What do you say to that?
Well, I think I'd take his second point first, which is about, process and a lack of a constitution. I know this is something that Ben feels really passionate about. I think, and also I've seen a lot tonight as well, people prattling on about how reform, I'm not saying you are, Ben, but how reform should have a proper shadow cabinet and all of that. This is a complete nonsense. Reform has 5 MPs. How on earth is it supposed to have a shadow cabinet? Each of those MPs already has their special area of interest and expertise, essentially performing as best they can the role of a shadow cabinet. Now, some of those MPs, like Sarah, are very, very new, so you can't expect her instantly to be part of a shadow cabinet. You've then got senior figures at Party HQ and other figures, like, for example, those that contribute to talkTV, David Bull, for example, who is very, very prominent and a great speaks very well on health issues, for example. But when you've only got 5 MPs, how are you going to have a shadow cabinet? So that I don't really accept that as a criticism. As for the
I didn't make that criticism, Isabel. I wasn't talking about a shadow cabinet. I was talking about checks and balances and processes that would prohibit an MP asking a question which would cause affront to the chairman, who would then go off and tweet something about it. It just doesn't. It's mismanagement at a gross level. It's nothing to do with shadow cabinet. It's just a lack of process and governance.
I think what it was just a communications failure, and that happens. We've got a smaller number when you have a small number of people who are doing an extraordinary amount, each of them. I mean, you, Ben, know just how big reform has become, how quickly, with a very, very small number of people taking on an insane amount of work, crazy workloads. You know, people moan about Nigel not being in Clacton enough, but I mean, the man's work ethic is probably, frankly, unhealthy. I look at my own partner, Richard Tyson, deputy leader, the hours that he's putting in. So the idea that there's some kind of flaccid discipline here, well, of course, now and again there are going to be communication breakdowns when a party has gone from next to nothing to leading in the polls. You know, that is going to happen, and no amount of checks and balances, as you put it, is going to prevent the odd
No, well, I fundamentally disagree, Isabel. I appreciate that slip-ups can happen, but the debate is over the burqa, which goes to the heart of the debate of multiculturalism in many ways.
Not why Zia Yusuf left. It's not why Zia Yusuf left. Nothing to do with that.
And there should be a joined-up view within reform on the burqa. Whatever it is, there should be a joined-up view.
Can I just? Yeah. Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm the host. Can I just ask you, Ben? Look, when you left in, and by the way, you two carry on. Don't mind me, but I mean,
look, can I just say,
I do have a question for you. An important question for you, Ben. Yeah. You left on the 28th of November last year. At that time, you were the deputy, and we all went, "Oh my God, that is seismic. Can reform recover?" And no offence, but they did. And then Rupert Lowe left far more dramatically than you 3 months ago. A lot of people said, well, that's it, the end of the road. Reform can't come back from this. They came back actually with consummate ease. And then you had those sensational local election and by-election results. Now the chairman, Zia Yusuf, has gone. And frankly, outside observers like myself may conclude that we're seeing a pattern here. You see, as often happens in politics, big figures fall out with the leadership. They leave. Everybody goes, oh, my God, it's the end of the world. And then the party recovers. So what I'm saying to you, Ben, is given past form, the departure of Zia Yusuf in the long term is just going to be a blip, isn't it?
It may be a blip. I mean, Farage is a fantastic campaigner. He knows how to play the media. He's absolutely consummate at that. And I imagine the calculations he's now making are, how do I recover from this setback? What do I need to do on the media over the next few days? If anything, maybe silence will be the best option. If anything, how do I recover from this? Sorry, forgive me. It'll be,
it's one of those evenings, isn't it? I'm still here. So
the calculation that, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Yeah.
Sorry, forgive me.
I can hear you.
The calculation. Sorry, forgive me. So the calculation that Farage will be making is, what do I need to do with the media to put this right? And he's one of the best campaigners, one of the best readers of the mood of the media that there is. But fundamentally, it's not about getting themselves back in ahead in the polls. Fundamentally, it's about whether or not this is a party that's capable of governing. And if you want to be a party capable of governing, I'm afraid, as dull as it might sound, you have to have solid foundations. You've got to have a constitution that works. You've got to have checks and balances. People often say Farage is reform is Farage, and you just have to accept that. And I do accept it. But that is a fundamental weakness as well. No matter how good a campaigner he is, you cannot rest the fortunes of a party that aspires to run the country on the shoulders of one man. It's just untenable. And then I come back, and I have to mention it again, is the lack of joined-up thinking when it comes to a political philosophy. They're all over the place. 1 minute they want to cut back the welfare state, the next minute they're printing checks to have more than 2 children. And by the way, the people who have more than 2 children are precisely the kind of people that we don't want having more than 2 children on the state.
What do you mean
We
by
don't, we
that?
don't, we don't want people on benefits, basically using that as a mechanism to enrich themselves, producing more children. What we want is people who are actually working. If reform stands for the working class, let's have this debate if you wish to, Isabel. If reform stands for the working class, it should reward the working class for their endeavours and make it possible for them to have children. You don't do that by signing a cheque. You do that by giving people a proper tax break for having children, reducing the tax burden on the working class. And so there's no joined up thinking.
Hello. Let's let Isabel have a response then. I'm going to have to move on. But thank you for joining us, Ben.
What I say is we're going way off topic here. And Ben, on this whole no joined up thinking here, I just come back to the point. There are only 5 MPs and each policy has to be really, really well thought through. The level of scrutiny that reform is under now, you can't just afford to just, to do this overnight. So this is a process and it's going to take an awful lot longer and there'll be an awful lot more bumps in the road.
Ben Habib, thank you so much for your time. Isabel, stay where you are. We do have to discuss another couple of stories. So that after the break, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakshire. Isabel, after that, I feel like sort of saying, breathe, let's calm down. That was dramatic stuff, but these are dramatic times. So let's move on to another couple of stories that I do think we ought to discuss. First of all, it's these dueling plans by the two main timid parties of how to solve the migrant crisis. Both of them, both Starmer and Badenoch, coming out with their plans. What we're going to do is, Keir Starmer, of course, wouldn't even dream of leaving the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights. That's the role of international law. I mean, that he worships at that altar. So his plan, of course, does not involve leaving the ECHR. Therefore, his plan is doomed to failure. You have to leave that foreign court if we're to do anything about our own sovereign borders. Meanwhile, Kemi Badenoch entertains the concept, possibly, of reviewing our continued membership of the ECHR. No, Kemi, if you don't leave the ECHR, you cannot ever solve the migrant crisis. These two parties have no idea what they're doing when it comes to our migrant crisis, do they?
I mean, I literally can't believe another Tory leader is still talking about contemplating leaving the ECHR. How much more evidence do they need? I mean, they've literally been saying this since Theresa May was, I think, Home Secretary. I think not even when she was Prime Minister. I'm talking when she was Home Secretary. They were talking about this. So that is over a decade ago, if I'm not wrong. Around about a decade, the Tories and every single Tory leader has been making these noises. It's not good enough to continually fob everyone off with this.
So these Tories, it's like we were discussing last night, James cleverly, you know, we've got to go harder, faster in our journey to net zero. We can grow the economy while becoming green fanatics. Oh, thanks. That's really conservative, James. Unbelievable. Now, to go back to the old two tiers plan, apart from staying in the ECHR, this is a foreign court to which we must be subordinate. The European Court of Human Rights, which is the legal side of the European Convention on Human Rights, which, by the way, we wrote back in the early 50s. Now, so he's going to stay in that, but what he's talking about is he's going to have a crackdown, he says, him and Calamity Cooper. They said they're going to have a crackdown on Article 8 of the the European Convention on Human Rights. That is your right to a family life. You know, the way paedophiles come out of jail and then we don't deport them or can't because they got 2 kids of their own. That kind of nonsense. Now, what two-tier Keir says and Calamity Cooper is they're going to crack down on judges who make those rulings. Look, you can't do that. You know, if you're going to stay in the European Convention of Human Rights, you have to obey Article 8. You can't turn around and say, we'll stay in the ECHR, but that bit of it we're not going to have anything to do with. You either quit and you stop being ruled by the nonsense of Article 8 and the right to a family life, or you don't. And if you don't quit, say hi to the migrant crisis. It will be with us forever. Unbelievable, these people.
Completely unbelievable. It's yet more meaningless guff from this government. They say things and they're things that just bear no scrutiny whatsoever. I mean, it is true that there are ways of interpreting the law, and that the judges, far too many judges, and you and I have talked about this, Kev, of late, have been almost seemingly deliberately interpreting the law in a way that is so counter to the British national interest. You're left wondering, you know, they've literally gone out of their way to do the very opposite of what all anyone sensible, any normal voter would want. But obviously they are constrained by the law. There's a bit of interpretation, but there is the actual law. And ultimately, if you've not left the ECHR, you know, one judge may take one interpretation, and, you know, if the complainant doesn't like it, or the defendant, on it goes to another human rights judge.
It is just a nonsense. I just cannot believe these people. They cannot. Why can't they see that the root of our migrant crisis problem is our membership of the ECHR? You're exactly right, Isabel. The interpretation by left-wing immigration tribunal judges is a serious problem. But Article 8, it's there in black and white. You have a right to a family life, and as long as we make ourselves subordinate to the ECHR and subordinate to Article 8, then these migrants will keep coming and we won't be able to deport them. Meanwhile, that nonsense we discussed last night, you know, they're still trying to hail it as a triumph that the French may consider intercepting migrant dinghies up to 300 metres out to shore. Hitherto, they haven't even been allowed to paddle into the English Channel, not even that deep. So they're now saying 300 metres, as we discussed last night. No, 10.5 miles. You're half of the channel, not 300 damn metres. We're giving you £500 million. Now, work for your money. Absolute nonsense. But of course, what we now learn is that French trades unions are kicking up a storm, and they are not going to let the gendarmes go 300 metres out to sea. So even that isn't going to happen. Honestly, it gets more pathetic by the day, doesn't it?
It does, and you know what? That puts the whole what's the name of the person who's the Reform Party chairman into perspective, because people up and down the country are turning to other parties not because of who the people are that lead them, but because of the issues. And this issue is one that is truly enraging millions of voters. And the main two parties that have been in a position to do something about it, the Tories for 14 years and Labour now, simply don't seem to get it. And that is why there is a political revolution going on.
Absolutely. As you say, Reform UK offer the people of this country two things. I'm not here to do a party political broadcast, but I can tell you, I'm looking at my switchboard now, this is what's popular, saying these two things. We will solve the migrant crisis. We will leave the... This is going to be more than two things, by the way. We will leave the ECHR. We will turn the boats around. Nobody's getting in. And also we will scrap the entire net zero claptrap nonsense. And the two main parties are going, oh, well, we've looked at our focus groups and we're not sure that people really want to be quite this draconian. You know, it's just absolute... These people are idiots. They should go and get themselves other jobs. So you're right. The people who want to solve this migrant crisis by, if necessary, turning the boats around, not letting these foreigners break into our country, not letting them set foot on our shore, the party that offers the people that will not have to worry too much about the fact its chairman has just quit. Let me tell you that. When we come back, it's time to talk about the Scandinavian doom goblin, Greta Thunberg. That next, stay tuned.
whole class was being punished for the sins of the one, which we're told not to do that in teacher training college.
Yes, well, as a teacher yourself, exactly.
Yeah, it did seem that the underlying issue here was not so much the inclusivity, but the fact that the girls have been rolling up the skirts. But girls have always done that, and it's the job of teachers to always say, roll them down.
Everyone, I mean, everyone at my school, I went to a single-sex school, so, you know, and you didn't bother rolling your skirt up during the school hours. The moment we got on that bus, you rolled them up.
If you're having a sick day or you're having a mental health day or whatever, you're not going to go to school and you're not going to go to work. And maybe if that's, you know, happens to a few people once or twice, that's fine. But the numbers today show this is happening, millions of times. And what really worries me is not the sick days, but it's when the sick days become sick weeks and become sick months.
Yeah.
And then you're out of work completely, especially with these mental health ones. Often we know once people go off work for mental health, the chance of them going back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Isabella Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Now, Isabel, having given up on saving the planet after her 2018 prediction that climate change would destroy humanity by 2023 proved to be disappointingly wide of the mark, Scandinavian doom goblin Greta Thunberg has moved on to saving Gaza. She's on a boat heading for the Middle East, the Israelis, and it's full of a performative cargo of aid, symbolic aid. She's going to take it to the poor people of the non-state of Palestine, and she's wrapping herself up in Palestinian flags as they sail on a rather nice boat across the Mediterranean in lovely weather. So a nice little cruise for her. Israel says it's going to intercept this boat and won't let it get anywhere near the war zone. I damn well hope they do, because what I would like to say about this, she's fully entitled to protest, make her point or whatever, but this is irresponsible, this is immature, this is childish, and this is really, really dangerous. We can't have silly little girls like her sailing into a war zone saying that she's going to break Israel's siege. It's pathetic. It is pathetic, and this time she's gone too far, and she must be stopped. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are she's being tremendously ill-advised. This must seem to the naive people around her and to Greta herself as if this is going to be an absolutely earth-shattering, brilliant piece of PR. But as you say, it's actually incredibly arrogant, for this one young lady to think that she can go storming in Joan of Arc style and somehow, resolve the whole Middle East crisis. It's pretty jaw-dropping, really, isn't it? I mean, the Israel-Gaza conflict is a conundrum that has evaded the best brains on the planet, the best war planners, the best peace planners. As yet, no one has come up with a solution. So I don't really think that Greta arriving on a boat wrapped in a scarf, delivering sandwiches to the people of Gaza is going to somehow bring about peace in the Middle East. Sandwiches. It's called the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. It's due to arrive on Saturday, so we're coming towards crunch time. And the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, they're very irritated by this, as you can imagine. They've got more important things to do. Right now. But they feel that they're going to have to intercept this boat in order to save these silly little people on board. So Greta Thunberg's narcissism is off the scale. This is all about her, isn't it? Now, she's 22 years old. It's high time she grew up and stopped doing all of this. And I love the way that it used to be, oh, yeah, climate change, save the planet. Oh, well, that didn't really work, Greta. All right, what else can we protest? Oh, Gaza, let's protest about that. She is a full-time, rent-a-cause protester. But this time I think she's gone too far. And I've got an important question to ask you now, Isabel. Do you know what her second name is, her middle name is? Tintin. Greta really? Tintin Thunberg. That's that Belgium, fictional crime fighter. Yeah. Why do you think she's called that? Oh, I don't know. You've stumped me on that. I didn't expect you to have an answer. Do you know what? You stumped me. I know. But let's be serious about this for a second. It's just such a circus. And the crossover, the overlap between the climate change nutters and the pro-Gaza nutters is quite something to behold, isn't it? And in both cases, there's a total lack of of rationalism. You know, when you actually talk to these people, I mean, she really thinks she's an expert on these issues, and is it responsible to go about it this way? I think this is just Greta, as you say, choosing a new cause, because the whole net zero thing's getting a bit dull.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. It really is. Let me know what you think, folks, about the doom goblin Greta Thunberg and her ridiculous Freedom Flotilla coalition. It's just dangerous. That's all I'm saying. It's dangerous to the people on that boat. It's dangerous to her. And this is above her pay grade, and she must be stopped. And the IDF will stop her. Because to save her life. There's a ridiculous irony about this. And by the way, while we're on the topic, we've just got time to discuss this. We talked about this last night. You know, Caroline Levitt humiliating the BBC in the White House, saying, look, this is the way they reported this story, saying, oh, look, the Israeli tanks have shot 60 Gazans getting food aid. Oh, no, wait a minute. No, it's about 40. Oh, no, it's 20. Oh, no, it didn't happen at all. So we played that last night. Now, absurdly, it's just such a joke. Talk about marking your own homework. The BBC have handed this humiliating, embarrassing issue to their verified department.
Oh no!
the ones that check their own facts, and they've said no, we didn't do this wrong. There's nothing wrong here. This is typical Trumpian distortion. You know, they're lying about us. So what they're saying is, we were just covering a developing story. So they took Hamas statistics once, then it was degraded twice, 3 times, until they finally established that Hamas statistics were a load of crap. And then they had to abandon the whole story. And they say, no, we were absolutely right to do that. That's not covering a developing story. That's publishing lies until you realise they're not lies.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of reminds me of that journalistic thing that you'll be familiar with from newspapers, when you get a story wrong and your editor, but it was true at the time. And,
yes, exactly.
It was true when I made that one phone call and quickly put the headline out. You know, we've all sort of fallen foul of that in early stages of careers. But this is a BBC we're talking about, and they can't do stories that were true at the time without proper due diligence. And as for referring anything to BBC Verify, I mean, I'm amazed it's still going. I really am.
Yeah, not only, Isabel, is it still going, they're expanding it. They're advertising for more and more people. So I think there's 60 people working at it already, and there's going to be more. It's just a way for the BBC to prove that the biased lies that it reports, particularly about Gaza, are true. You know, it's ridiculous. And meanwhile, the Director General, Tim Davie, he wants more money. He wants a higher TV license fee. Good luck with that, mate. Good luck with that, mate. We say no. Isabel, fantastic to talk to you as always. We'll talk again next week. That is Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Now, when we come back, it's called Dr. Renee. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. Dr. Renee Hunderkamp in the studio, answering your medical problems. Give her a call. 0344499 1000. She is here to help. That next, stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it's all kicking off between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I'll bring you the exact tweets in just a little while. But Donald Trump is tweeting that he's very disappointed in Elon Musk. This is following Elon Musk's attack on Donald Trump for his what he called his big beautiful bill, which was a $3.8 trillion spending plan, which Doge boss, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk said, well, that undermines all the savings I've made. You know, I've been spending 6 months making all these savings, and then you announce a $3.8 trillion spending plan, which means the savings I've made are a waste of time. A lot of defenders of Donald Trump said, well, that was more Congress than him. Congress aren't the people who called it a big, beautiful bill, and a lot of conservatives, including Elon Musk, say the problem with the big, beautiful bill is it is way too big. Meanwhile, Elon Musk has tweeted words to the effect, if it wasn't for me, Donald Trump wouldn't have won the election. Such ingratitude. So the first buddy and his president mate, man, they have fallen out big time. I will, Donald Trump tweeting that Elon Musk was wearing thin and so on and so forth. A lot of people always predicted that love affair, the two buddies, was doomed to end in tears, and boy, oh boy, were they right. I'll bring you the exact texts of those tweets in just a little while, but that's what's going on. Donald Trump and Elon Musk going at each other like a couple of prize fighters on social media. So that relationship is in tatters. Right, let's get back to business. It is, of course, called Dr. Renee. She's been away for a couple of months. So this is a couple of weeks, actually, isn't it? No, it's been away a couple of weeks. Dr. Renee Hunderkamp, GP extraordinaire, in the studio. You know the drill. If you've got a health issue, problems with the NHS, you can't get to see your GP, you're unhappy with your treatment, or maybe you just don't feel very well. Doesn't have to be you, could be a loved one, could be a friend. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. But before we open the surgery, as it were, we always, don't we, Renee? Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
We always like to start with a kind of medical story. And I think there's only one medical story in town at the moment. As you always predicted, the Ozempic story has taken a bit of a negative turn, and basically, until now, you'd have thought Ozempic was the answer to everyone's dreams. It makes you thinner, you lose weight, you won't get cancer, you give up smoking, you stop drinking, you live forever. Wow, it's the wonder drug.
You'll make lots of money for the pharma company.
You'll make a particular company the richest company in the world with a bigger economy than Denmark, where that company is based, and so on and so forth. But as could have always been predicted, it's beginning to turn a bit negative now. Ozempic, according to some reports, apparently negates the contraceptive pill and has triggered an unexpected baby boom. Also, this weight loss jab could cause, they're saying, depression and may contribute to certain cancers, and if you've taken it anywhere near when you were pregnant, and that is of course if you're a woman, there are suggestions, well, not necessarily in today's mixed up world, there are suggestions that it could have a very serious effect on your unborn child. So Renee, you said to me some time ago, and it's always remained with me, it's always struck a chord. You said, well, the thing about Ozempic or these weight loss drugs, they were never properly tested. They were just sort of unleashed on an unsuspecting humanity. And in effect, what has been happening is arguably, you know, the first ever testing of a drug on real life human beings.
So I don't think it's the first ever. I think there's plenty of examples of it in the past. Thalidomide, for example, was one. We tested that on pregnant women and it took 20 years to accept.
Didn't work out too
Didn't
well,
work very
did it?
well. I think the difference here, Kevin, is that the cohort for this experiment is so big. So big. Obviously, you had the COVID vaccines, which was another experiment on people, and we're still seeing that one through.
But you could argue with COVID, whilst I agree, it was strange that they just gave this untested vaccine to people, but they would argue this was an emergency situation. I think they overblew that, but that's what the argument. We don't have time to test. So at least there was an excuse for the COVID vaccine. Not a good enough one if you ask me, but Ozempic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no excuse for testing this, is there?
There isn't.
Or not testing
but all
it.
of the signals were there. The drug companies wouldn't release their data, only the data that they had approved. None of this is peer-reviewed. All of the things that you're reading in the papers are from their press releases. All of the people who go out and say it's fantastic are paid for by the drug companies. They see an opportunity to make trillions, not just billions here, trillions of pounds, because so many people are overweight. People want an easy fix. And I have been saying now for the best part of 6 months, there are signals for cancer in these. And guess what? There are. There are signals for muscle and bone loss. And guess what? There is. Now we're seeing teeth and the bones around teeth. We're seeing in the animals that they tested it on, there was malformations in the fetuses of the mice, and now they're worried about that in humans. There's no evidence of that, I would say, but they are worried about it. It's negating other drugs. And all of this for what? Because when you stop taking it, you put the weight back on.
But I read this the other day, and this I found really alarming, was that when this was just a story, I don't know the veracity of it, but it had the ring of truth about it, that when you lose weight with any of these jabs, don't forget it's not just Ozempic, these are brand names.
It's muscle.
Ozempic, Wegovy, what's the big one, that Manjaro. Yeah. So when you lose weight, 40% of the weight you lose is muscle and bone. Muscle and bone. And that's not good.
And there's suggestion that it's heart muscle. You can never replace heart muscle. We've got people that have gone off the enjoyment of life, Kevin. They don't like alcohol anymore. People might say that's a good thing. They don't like smoking. They don't like drinking. They don't enjoy life anymore. And that's not returning. It is messing with people's brains because it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Well, exactly. And I mean, in terms of babies, what do they say? I presume they're saying that, you know, people who get pregnant possibly because they were taking Ozempic, but people aren't taking Ozempic when they're pregnant, right? Surely.
But what if they don't know? So,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So the problem is that there are two reasons that women get pregnant. So women that are overweight find it harder sometimes to conceive. So they lose weight and they get pregnant. So that could be a cause of it, and they carry on taking their Ozempic until they know they're pregnant. But it is also negating the contraceptive pill. So they might be taking their pill and thinking they're covered, and they get pregnant. And remember, in that first 3 months of pregnancy, when a lot of women don't know, that's when all of the important bits of a baby are put together.
God. And I mean, are people? I've heard also that you're not supposed to take these drugs forever, are you? What is it? How long?
It is a forever drug.
But how long are you supposed to take them?
They're a drug for life. You can't come off it.
Well, if you do, you put the weight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that must be bad for you.
Yeah. But
don't doctors say, look, you take this for 3 months or something?
Doctors are accepting that these people are probably going to have to stay on it for life.
Why do they have to stay on it?
Well, because they just put all the weight back on. No one wants to put the weight back on, do they? They might as well go to Weight Watchers and do that.
Oh dear. I mean, as I say, I'm not the sort of person who has to worry about this kind of thing. I know you all hate me, but I never put on any weight. But I wouldn't be even if I was overweight. I wouldn't be interested in a drug that takes away my interest in food and drink.
Imagine,
these are the pleasures of life,
these
aren't they?
are the pleasures in life. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine losing your enjoyment for food and drink and never getting it back, which is a possibility.
Well, I was mocking my friend Mike Graham about it the other night. I said, mate, you want to get some of this Ozempic? You can. And we were all laughing, but he got serious. He said, look, this is where I stand on it. He said, you know, I don't want to be deprived of the joy of food and drink. These are the pleasures of life.
Look,
that's more important than...
It is. Do you know what? I have a very small cohort of patients who are so overweight that they've got heart disease, diabetes, leg ulcers, they can barely walk. For them, I think it has a value. Because they're not going to go to the gym, Kevin. They're not going to slim down. They're going to get sicker and sicker and lead a miserable life. For them, I think it has a value. For everybody else, I am seeing people with a BMI of 27 on these injections. A normal BMI is 25 and under. These are not massively overweight people.
Well, loads of people are taking this stuff, aren't
My stepdaughter, who is, I think, 36 the other day, said to me that all of her friends are on it.
So this is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've been sold a wonder drug, everyone's taking it, and nobody really thought about it. And I always say it's very weird the way after... You know, it does help people lose weight, there's no doubt about that, which is good for people in many ways.
Because they eat less.
Yeah, they eat less, so you could do that yourself, by the way, folks. You could always try to do it yourself. So, but it's good for people in many ways, losing weight. Being overweight is bad for you, could cause cancer, etc., etc. People are taking it who don't really need to, aren't they? I mean, skinny people are taking it who want to get thinner. And as you said earlier, people who take it for 6 months, 3 months, who are told to come off it, aren't coming off it. I mean, we've caused ourselves a bit of a problem here, haven't we?
Yeah, and the thing is, we've been sold into it because the drug companies realise it's their panacea now. They see this audience forever. They know people can't come off it. They're going to make fortunes, and they do not care about us. Look at OxyContin. They knew it was killing people, Kevin, and they just carried on and carried on.
These are the big money-making companies. They are massive money makers.
900,000 people in America died from OxyContin.
Dear oh me, dear oh me. Let me know what you think. I mean, Ozempic, Wegovy. We can't even get Ozempic in this country, can you? I think that's the American version.
It's Wegovy and Manjaro.
Yeah, Wegovy, Manjaro, Ozempic, if you are that way inclined. What do you think? I mean, is this a good thing? As I say, we went through this period, didn't we? Once everyone went, it's the miracle drug. You lose weight, you guarantee you lose weight. Then you get, sorry, it helps you stop smoking. It helps you stop drinking. It helps you live forever. You know, it's like, hang on a second, what else? You know, it helps you grow wings and fly. It's amazing. Well, one thing I know in life, I really do know this, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's always a price to pay. And are we sure we know the entire price that we might be paying?
No, of course not. We haven't had enough time. There is more to come, and it will take time. And it won't just affect a small number of people. It will affect millions.
So to be serious for a second, Renee, as a doctor, are you worried about this?
Yes, totally. And when I spoke to a patient today, and I said to her, I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, and these are the reasons why. And I talked her through the thyroid cancer, pancreas cancer, pancreas.
Well, let me know. Maybe you want to give us a ring if you are on Ozempic or Wegovy. What's the other one called? Manjaro? Kilimanjaro. Any of those? Or you're not on them? What you think about this? I think it's quite... I think it might be a growing issue. I just have this horrific feeling there may come a time where we all turn around and go, my God, what have we done?
Yeah, we're not there yet. And you know why? Because most people are overweight and most people don't want to take responsibility for it and they want the quick fix. So they are loud voices, and there's a lot of them. And I have people saying to me, oh, it's all right for you, you've never been fat. I've never been fat because I don't sit and eat what I really want to all day. And I would love to sit and eat donuts all day. I would then be fat.
That's true, that's true. Let me know what you think, but also we're going to go to break now. When we come back, the surgery will be open. Give Dr. Renee a ring. Call Dr. Renee again to reiterate, if you've got health issues, you're worried about the NHS, you can't get to see your GP, who the hell can, you're unhappy with your treatment, or maybe you just don't feel very well. It doesn't have to be you, it can be a loved one or a friend even. So call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. Stay tuned, back in a moment.
So you've sort of kicked off a bit of an internal struggle inside the Tory party, which surely at this time, when Labour are doing so badly, you don't really need to do you?
Well, I'm not going to get drawn into the he said, she said of this, Mike. The reality
Well, you're
is,
already in it, because you started it.
Accept this. Well, no. What I'm talking about is what happened economically rather than anything else, or who did what at what time. The reality is that we lost our mantle for fiscal responsibility as a party at that time.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Later on in the show, we're going to be taking your calls, so keep them coming in. We've got lots of calls, obviously, about Zia Yusuf, the Reform UK Party chairman, dramatically quitting a couple of hours ago. So we will resume that debate, that conversation. But it is call Dr. Renee at the moment, so call in with your medical issues, your medical problems. First of all, here's Rachel from Norfolk. Rachel, hi. Talk to the doctor. Hi, how are you doing? Talk to the doctor.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Dr. Renee.
Hello, how can I help?
Well, it's a quick question. In 2013, I got diagnosed with velvet knee.
To what? Sorry, with what?
Velvet knee is what they called it.
Velvet knee. Oh, you're going to beat me on this one.
That sounds like a good thing.
Well, no, apparently they explained it as when the cartilage in the knee isn't really as much as it should be. So the bone is actually rubbing on the bone.
So that's actually just known as osteoarthritis.
Oh.
Well, there are colloquial names for things.
Yeah.
You've been given a colloquial name, I think, Rachel.
Yeah. So that's what happens.
Back in the day, but when I went back to the doctors just after the pandemic, they were like, oh, we don't use that term anymore.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, what is it? And they're like, well, we'll redo a consultation and all that lot. And trying to get one is impossible.
Well, I mean, look, I can do it for you here and I don't need to see it. If you had cartilage which is getting thinner and your bones are touching, what then happens? That's the classic sign of osteoarthritis. So when the bones are too close to each other and they touch each other, they start growing extra bone to try and protect themselves. So you get spurs to the side, they're called osteophytes. And that just makes the whole knee painful, or elbow, or whatever it is. It's a very classic osteoarthritis sign.
Does it hurt, Rachel?
Yeah. It normally hurts more in the winter if it's cold, or if the pressure changes. Like the last couple of weeks, it's been really like pressure. But all they want to do is like give me like codeine or naproxen or
just painkillers, right? Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with the injections, because the injections are steroid and it just takes away the pain. There's nothing wrong with that. I've had quite a few steroid injections in various joints on my body as they get old. But what you need to do is you need some really good knee physio to build up the muscles around the joint to support that joint. That's the only way you're going to go long term with it. Otherwise, eventually the knee will just break down and you'll need a knee replacement.
Oh, I don't want that. No.
So look up good knee physio and just really strengthen that knee. And it's really tiny movements for knee physio. I know, because I fractured my patella about 7 years ago. And so you have to do just really small movements to build up those muscles around it.
Also, Rachel, let me put my 10 penneth in. I've got really bad knees and legs and everything due to, you won't believe it, but I used to be quite an athlete and do a lot of sport. And now I'm a little later in life. My legs and knees are a disaster. Anyway, I was contemplating getting new knees and all that. And the doctor said, look, because I was having real trouble walking. It was really, and he said, listen, the best thing you can do with knees is use them.
Yes, definitely.
Use them. I said, but it hurts. He said, try and work with it. So maybe, I'm just saying, Rachel, as a fellow knee sufferer, you've got to try and use them. Do you see what I mean? Don't just sit around nursing your pain.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, I don't. When they're painful, you have to move.
Yeah, no, Kevin is absolutely right. My knees hurt when I don't run, weirdly, but you're absolutely right. But if you find it too hard to do things like running, things like cycling are good because they're non-impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Rachel, good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Excellent call.
You.
Thank you. Look after yourself. Rachel in Norfolk. Yeah, we've got plenty of time for another call. By the way, I got a message here saying that you should be Prime Minister. Here we go. This is Dan from Kent. Renee shouldn't be just Prime Minister. She should be dictator.
Why, thank you, I think.
Anyway, only the best are born on the 23rd of April. Was that you? Were you born? So presumably Dan was as well. Listen, someone is. We should tell me what you think of this. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. This is Martin in Whitley Bay. Weight loss jabs affecting contraceptive pills suggests they're working on an hormonal level. More irresponsible sales of pharma to the lazy, desperate or ill-informed. Evil. Wake up, people. It's Martin in Whitley Bay. Is it hormonal level? Has he got a point there?
The honest answer is, Martin, I don't think they're sure yet, but what they think is happening is it's about absorption in the gut. Because it's affecting absorption in the gut and slowing down transit, which is what's happening, that's how they're working, that you're not absorbing enough of the hormone for it to work.
Okay, well, there you go, Martin. Now, let's go to another call. This is Lee in Nottinghamshire. Hello, Lee. Talk to the doctor.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call. A couple of days ago, we went to A&E with my husband, and we went to the doctor yesterday. His scrotum swelled up like large tennis balls as such. NHS has been absolutely brilliant with us. He's got a scan on Saturday. But I was just really wondering, I didn't ask doctors because we were that worried about him, what actually can they do, and what actually is it? They gave us a name, but I can't remember it.
It could be so many things. Is it painful?
No.
Okay, so the reason we ask about pain is that what we're worried about in men, but not normally men, older men, usually it's sort of teenage and pubescent, is if the testy gets twisted, so torsion, then that's very painful and you have a very short window to sort that out. So it doesn't sound like it's that. Have they put a light through it to see if there are variceles?
Yeah, they put a light through it and said it's filled with water.
Yeah. So you can get almost varicose veins in the testes, and that can be what's happening.
Right.
And actually you can feel that. I know it's, look at me, I'm doing this with my hand. You can actually feel it. It feels like worms because you can feel the varices. They're laughing in the gallery at me. So it could be that, which is, these are all benign things, nothing to worry about. They have to check that there's no growth, obviously, there. But that would be unlikely as it's suddenly swelled up. They need to make sure there's not a blockage stopping the blood flow or the lymph flow out of the testes. So it can be any of those things. It could be an infection, but it's an unusual presentation for an infection. But it's more likely to be something like variceals water.
Right. Can they just, what did they do? Just give you tablets for it to get rid of it, or?
It depends what's causing it. They could drain it.
Yeah.
Or they could give water tablets, but it depends what's causing it.
Right, that's lovely.
All right, Lee. By the way, what's your dog's name?
Oh, we've got two. The Cocker Spaniels. One's Tilly and one's Misty.
Well, it's great to have them on the show. By the way, I'm a fellow Cocker Spaniel sufferer, so I feel your pain.
Ask her if they get her up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Do they get you up at 3 in the morning like ours?
Yes, definitely.
Lee, great to have you and the dogs on the show, and our best to your husband. All the best. Thanks for a great call. Look after yourself. Lee in Nottinghamshire there. Should we go to break, and when we come back we'll take some more calls and read some more messages. So stick around. This is Call Dr. Renee. Give her a ring with any of your health problems. 0344 499 1000. She's here to help.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, I've got to tell you that it is really kicking off now. We're doing Call Dr. Renee at the moment, but I can't let this go by. It is really kicking off between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, as I told you earlier. Musk tweeting, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election and the Democrats would control the House of Republicans. It would be 51-49 in the Senate." Such ingratitude. Now, also, Donald Trump has posted that Elon Musk is a great disappointment to him, and so on and so forth. Now, in response to that, listen to this. Elon Musk has just tweeted, "Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump," in other words, that's his Twitter handle, "Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT." So that's the Jeffrey Epstein files, which is supposed to be this long list of people who, shall we say, enjoyed his favours. He, of course, was, the sidekick of Ghislaine Maxwell, the billionaire who had planes and used to fly rich and powerful men down to what they called Lolita Island on the Lolita Express. Basically, so the allegation was so they could enjoy the fruits of underage girls. Now, those Epstein files contain a load of names, we're told, that we don't yet know. People like Bill Clinton were connected to it. He's denied any wrongdoing, of course. Bill Gates as well denied any wrongdoing. But what Elon Musk is now tweeting is that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files as someone who presumably, allegedly, may have taken part in Epstein's nefarious use of young girls. He's in the Epstein files. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. That was Elon Musk to Donald Trump. My God.
Astounding.
I mean, everybody always said, Renee, didn't they, that this bizarre friendship would end in tears. We've got Donald Trump prior to the Epstein bombshell tweeting, "Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted. He knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy." So on and so forth. This is all down to the fact that Elon's gone absolutely mental about the fact that Donald Trump has just introduced this big, beautiful bill, a $3.8 trillion spending plan, which Elon Musk said, "I've just spent 6 months trying to save money on Doge, making this government efficient, getting rid of all the waste. This has completely undermined everything I've done, made it all pointless." In a way, you can see his point. But anyway, just keeping you abreast of what's happening in Washington. We'll try and get something together on that. We're going to talk to Kinsey Schofield at 9 o'clock. We'll try and get someone, she may have a few things to say about it, but we'll try and get someone on after that and keep you abreast of this. It's a big night for big stories, isn't it? Anyway, let's go back to call Dr. Renee and go straight to Pauline in Bedford. Hello, Pauline. Talk to Renee.
Hi.
Hello, Pauline. How can I help?
Hello. Oh, thank you for taking my call.
Pleasure.
Yeah, my son, just very briefly, when he was at university, he had this dreadful pain up in his upper back. And his tutor said, "That sounds like a pot rib." Well, years went by and, he played football, he went to the gym, he used to run 5K, and so on and so on and so on. And then just before COVID, he came back to live with me after his relationship ended.
Poor you.
And yeah, poor me, yeah. And he was working from home, and just everything is closed down, as you know. And then, of course, the muscle goes, and then this rib started. What he's got is a rib that's out. Now, he's been misdiagnosed 4 times. The first guy that we saw about 4 times, the doctor, he kept saying it's just muscular, muscle, not. Paid a fortune trying to get rid of this muscle knot. Anyway, he went to an osteopath, and he said straight away, he said, "That you've got a rib out." He said, "But you try getting help for that." And he was right. He was dead right, because he He cannot get anybody. I mean, I paid privately for him to go and see a spinal surgeon in Windsor.
And what did they say?
Well, he said, "Have you had a SPECT scan?" And we didn't even know what it was. So he got in touch with the doctor that keeps saying it's a muscle knot. And so he said, "Oh, I'm going to..." Anyway, this guy with the muscle knot, he says, "I'm going to call you." He called us, that's right, and he said, "I'm going to get you this SPECT scan, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that." But we don't do it in Bedford. So he arranged it for Lister Hospital. They called us and said, "We don't do it, Bedford do it." And it's just gone on and on and on.
Why don't you ask for a referral down to somewhere in London that has a good spinal unit?
Well, no, what's happened, it's gone on now. He's had the SPECT scan, and then they said it was costochondritis. And it's a slipping rib. I've been on the slipping rib forum, and everything that's on there sounds like it's a slipping rib. So we took it back he's under Luton Dunstable now, and because we pay privately to see a rheumatologist, it's just gone on and on. What it is, he's got the facet joint, the T4, that is where the rib is slipping. And when it moves, it's like he's having a heart attack. He can't breathe.
Well, costochondritis is very, very painful.
In his ear, he gets a pain in his eye, all around his chest, and he just collapses on the floor.
Why don't you ask to be referred to Stanmore, which is the National Orthopaedic Hospital?
Stanmore?
Yeah. It's not too far from... I mean, you've been to Bedford and all of those places, Lister, so it's not too far. And it is the Centre of Excellence for orthopaedic conditions. I would get your GP say you've had enough. It's intolerable. You want to be seen there and get a referral to Stanmore.
Well, what I did read on the forum was to ask for a dynamic ultrasound.
Okay, I can't. That's too specialised to me. I can't tell you, and I think that sounds like it will probably be too difficult.
But we're 5 years. We're 5 years down the line now, and he is seeing a thoracic,
cardiothoracic surgeon.
Yes, we can't quite know. He's had a MRI for thoracic, and he's had a complete MRI. And we're going back on the 11th of this month and the 3rd of July for all the results and everything. And I don't know what the cardiothoracic means.
Well, cardiothoracic is all of the structures around your chest. It's heart, but also the bones, ribs and the back around it. So
that will show.
Well, hopefully. So look, it sounds like at the moment you've got lots of results to come. I would go for that appointment in July, and then if you're still not happy or they don't have a solution, ask to be referred to Stanmore.
Okay,
Pauline.
Okay.
Good luck, Pauline.
Thank you for the call, and our best to your son. Pauline in Bedford there. Let's go straight to break, and when we come back, more from Dr. Renee. Stay where you are.
The overall revenue that's come in from that wheeze is not as high as it should be. So the reality is that she's got to cut spending. She can't just keep on raising taxes to, fund ever-increasing spending. You've got to get spending under control. And cutting back the warm home scheme, which Labour, by the way, doubled from what it was under the Tories, that was one of the methods by which she had hoped to cut a bit of spending. But it seems that she's been defeated in that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Dr. Renee Hunderkamp, GP extraordinaire, in the studio answering all your health questions, 03444991000. But I need to keep you up to date with this extraordinary face-off going on over in Washington or in the States, where the close friendship between First Buddy Elon Musk and the President Donald Trump has turned into a furious fight. They are going at each other hammer and tongs on social media. Elon was wearing thins, tweeted or said Donald Trump, probably on his Truth social media site, I would imagine. Elon was wearing thing. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars, and he just went crazy. So then Elon Musk tweeted, without me, Trump would have lost the election. The Democrats would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. And then, of course, the big bombshell from Elon Musk. Time to drop the really big bomb at Real Donald Trump, as in the president's Twitter handle. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. By the way, the backdrop to this was it last Friday? It emerged that the New York Times was reporting that throughout his close relationship with Donald Trump, helping him campaign for the presidency successfully, becoming the boss of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, to save zillions of dollars of Washington waste on all these bloated departments, and that all the time, according to the New York Times, he was off his face on drugs, ketamine, cocaine, and what was the other one?
Did you see him in that Oval Office?
Yeah, mushrooms, that's right, magic mushrooms.
Did you see Elon in the Oval Office with the camera on him, and he was gurning, and he was in a different place to everyone else? Well,
I think we have to probably register that Elon Musk has indicated that this is not the case, but certainly something's going on here, and he's going to run a business.
Interestingly, Tesla shares are down 15% on the day.
Well, look, he's trying to run a business in the United States of America. What if you're running big businesses in a country? Here's a bad idea: falling out with the guy who runs the country. Musk, I don't know what he's doing here, but that is a bombshell accusation. What he's saying is that the reason that the Epstein files, which are said to contain the names of many, many rich and powerful men who enjoyed the hospitality of Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive, the billionaire, basically providing these men with young women to have sex with, flying them down from the States to his Caribbean island on a plane they called the Lolita Express. So now Elon Musk is saying that Donald Trump's name is in those files, which is why they remain closed.
Do you think Elon for chairman of Reform?
Well, it looks like you might be at a loose end in America fairly soon, so why not? You know, but well, we'll keep you. We'll revisit that story very soon, but we'll keep you abreast of what's going on there. But it is absolutely extraordinary. This after Zia Yusuf suddenly dramatically quit as chairman of the Reform UK party a few hours back. Folks, it is one of those nights. Right, let's go back to the phones. This is Chris in Doncaster. Hello, Chris. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Evening, you're all right. By the way, the Trump thing, not a massive shock to any of us, I don't think.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people said it would end in tears. Well, it's ended in tears. It's ended in a bit more than just tears. But let's go back to you, Chris. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Chris. How can I help?
Hi, evening. I actually went to the doctors this morning. I actually managed to get an appointment. I've got a condition you might not have heard of called lichen amyloidosis.
Right, I have heard of it. Lichen amyloidosis.
Yeah. So basically, amyloid protein, the one that collects on the brain and gives people, I forget what it's called now. Yeah, it collects under my skin on my legs and my arms.
Yeah.
And it's awfully itchy. It's 24/7, just the worst. I have been referred to dermatologists at a hospital. They just give up on you after a while. They once got me to go to a conference and sit in a room, and 2 at a time came in to look at me throughout the day. Yeah, yeah. She sold me on the idea that they might come up with some sort of solution for it, but no one can.
Do steroids not help it? Steroid creams?
Steroids work for about a week, and then they don't work anymore. And the problem is with steroids, your skin gets addicted to it. I actually set up 4 years ago the only Facebook group for this condition. I've got nearly 800 members now throughout the world, and everyone says the same. We stay away from steroids.
Well, Chris, hang on a second. Renee, explain exactly what this condition is.
It's just a skin condition where it's kind of a thickening collects of these proteins in the skin, and it's quite firm. Chris, is yours firm? Is it hard?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's like bumps underneath the skin, but
is it all over the body? Where is it all over the body?
No, below the knee, both legs and both arms below the elbows.
The problem is, Chris, as I'm sure you know already, I'm not telling you anything new, is that skin conditions generally, not just this one, are very, very hard to cure, full stop. And with most things, when it comes to skin, we're never curing them, we're just managing them. And it's the same with eczema and psoriasis and all of those things. So when we get these really quite persistent and difficult and unusual rare things like an amyloidosis, you know, it becomes even harder. And the only thing I know in my head is really steroids to see if you can actually just keep it under control. I mean, I can have a look at it off air because, as I said, I've never seen a case, so it's not something I've seen very often, and see if I can think of anything. But it sounds to me like you're probably more of an expert than me.
Yeah, I just need something to stop the itching. The wife goes mental. She's permanently shouting at me, stop scratching. You scratch down to the point where you're bleeding.
How long have you had this, Chris?
Oh, 15 years.
And what about antihistamines? Do they help the itch?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I actually asked the doctor today. I said, one of the reasons I've come to see you, can you prescribe me a strong antihistamine?
Yes.
Because I buy them over the counter, and I'm having to double dose them, and they just take it off the edge.
So that
the doctor this morning said they can't give me anything.
Oh, of course they can. So they can give you fexofenadine.
No, he 100% said just buy it from Home Bargains, wherever you're buying it.
So he's 100% wrong, with no doubt.
Glad I rang you then.
Okay, so you can get fexofenadine on prescription only, and it's either 120 milligrams or 180 milligrams, and we prescribe it all of the time for people who need more than just the normal. Go back, Chris, and say, no, I want fexofenadine.
There you go.
You know how hard it was to get that appointment.
Email them.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Just email
you wait
them.
about 10 years, did you?
Yeah, just email them. Just email them and say, I've spoken to another doctor who says fexofenadine might work, please prescribe.
Right, That's great. That's all I wanted to know.
Good, Chris. Get that some fexofenadine. There you go.
Good luck.
I hope it works. Good luck. Chris in Doncaster there. Let's go to Roger in Swansea. Hello, Roger. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Roger.
Hello, Dr. Renee.
How can I help you?
Right, I went to the doctor a week ago because I've had what I wasn't sure was either a hernia or a muscle strain, and because it was getting more uncomfortable.
Whereabouts, Roger?
On the right-hand side, as I go down from my stomach, on the top. When I say the top, I don't mean the tip or my penis, to the right.
So is it in your groin or is it in your actual abdomen?
Groin, I believe, yes.
Your groin. Okay, fine. Yep.
Yeah. Right. So what I've noticed is when I lie down, of course, it goes back. Also, it seems to come out and I can push it back in.
Yep.
Right. Now then, I know Google can be very misleading, but so far as I went on that, it said it's very difficult to tell the difference between hernia and the muscle. Right. So anyway, so I was taking paracetamol.
So it's hurting you, is it?
Yes, and the thing is, when it gets really sore, it seems to be sore on the surface.
Yeah.
Okay, on the surface, almost like as if my claws are pinching me, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, now, what can I tell you more?
So have you seen a doctor?
Yes, I saw a doctor just over a week ago.
And what did the doctor say?
Well, the doctor looked at me and he wasn't absolutely sure. He put me down for blood test, which I can't have for another 2 weeks.
I'm not sure why you need a blood test. What you need is an ultrasound.
Okay.
So the only definitive way to confirm that it's a hernia, although from what you're telling me, it sounds like a hernia because it's there when you're standing, you can push it back, which is called a reducible hernia. And it's paining you. So you need an ultrasound to see exactly what's going on. And then, and this is where it becomes a little bit tricky, we used to always repair hernias, but lots of NHS trusts don't repair them anymore. They only repair them if they incarcerate. Now what that means is that, because what a hernia is, so that everybody knows, is there's a split in the muscle or a structure and part of your bowel is poking through that. And that's what it is. Now, if you can push it back quite safely, that's fine. But sometimes it gets twisted and then you can't push it back. And because it's bowel and it's got feces in it, poo, it will go gangrenous. That's a medical emergency. Many NHS trusts have now decided that they will only fix them when that happens.
Okay, right. But I'm with Benendon Health. I've been with them for a couple of years.
So you're with who?
Benendon Health.
Right. What's that? I'm not sure what that is, Roger.
Well, it's like a private...
Oh, okay. Well, they'll do it for you. So ask for a referral, which usually a colorectal surgeon or a general lumps and bumps surgeon who will fix that.
Okay, right. So should I still... should I go ahead with that before waiting for the blood test?
The blood test aren't going to tell them anything. I don't know why they've done a blood test for a hernia.
Okay, right. And can I just say to you that I was taking Ginkgo and I realised the person my age, I'm 73, shouldn't take Ginkgo. Could that have caused bruising?
Oh, yeah, okay. But that's not going to affect the hernia. Don't worry and don't beat yourself up over it. I think if you've got private healthcare and you're happy to use it, I would go ahead and get it done. It's quite a simple fix. It's not difficult. So you don't have to worry about it. It can even be done laparoscopically. But yeah, I would get that done, Roger. Okay.
All right, Roger.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On the Saturday 5. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Look forward to it. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Roger. Roger in Swansea there. Oh, hang on. I've got a call from Mike in Manchester who says he has advice for a previous caller.
Okay.
So, Mike, which caller are you talking about?
I didn't catch his name. He was talking about he had a very itchy condition.
Oh, yes.
I had something a few months back and I was itching from head to toe and tried all the different antihistamines and didn't help. And then the doctor gave me 180 of fexofenadine, which you mentioned, and that didn't help me either. So then he phoned a dermatologist in desperation and the dermatologist said you could take that 3 times a day. And so I was taking 180 effexofenadine 3 times a day, and it stopped it straight, like, very quickly.
Okay,
So
I mean, I'm not...
Obviously, he has to ask his doctor.
Yeah.
Don't take my word for it.
Got to take doctor's advice, mate.
Yeah, no, definitely, he should ask his doctor, but I just wanted to say that...
No, well, that's really nice.
Do you know what, Mike? You are right in that dermatologists are often much more gung-ho with antihistamines than we are in GP land.
That's nice.
The doctor, my GP was surprised, but he said that's what they said, so go for it, and it cured, it stopped it.
Excellent. Well, that's nice of you.
Sleep, and it was horrible.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, it's nice of you to call. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. I'm glad your condition is cured. Mike in Manchester there. I've got a quick, before we won't really have time for another call, but I've got a text here from Susan. She says, "Hi Renee, it's Sue from Cheshire. I've had a barium swallow which has shown a hiatus hernia, but there is something on my thyroid gland, might be a goiter or a nodule. I have no swelling or visible lumps. Now I have to have blood tests to see if the thyroid is functioning and a scan to look at the thyroid. What might it be? I have no pain or problem swallowing."
Okay, so thyroid disease is a disease of women. 1 in 50 women get thyroid disease. Men, only 1 in 1,000. You can get lumps on your thyroid that are benign, but they can interrupt with the function, or they might not interrupt it at all. You can also get lumps on your thyroid that are cancerous. The good thing about the thyroid is it's usually self-contained. I've had thyroid cancer. I don't have a thyroid anymore, but it's actually quite easy to take it all out. I would say that if you can keep some of your thyroid, always do, because you'll miss it when it's gone.
Is that right? Well, I think we don't really have any time for any more calls. But listen, Renee, great to have you back. I hope you enjoyed your 2-month break.
I was in Spain. The weather was beautiful.
Oh, really? That makes me feel so happy. Any chance you'll be around next Thursday?
I might come next week.
Well, good. There you go. Dr. Renee Hundekamp will be with us next Thursday. We are honoured, so to be. No, seriously, she'll be back next Thursday. It's always a great hour. Call Dr. Renee 0344 499 1000, but you'll have to wait until next Thursday. Sorry about all of you who phoned or sent messages that we didn't manage to get to, but we'll try and get to you next time. So there you go. Thank you to Dr. Renee. When we come back, Kinsey Schofield on Meghan Markle, and we need to get to the bottom of the Donald Trump situation. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is
welcome back. We're going to try and bring you updates on what's going on with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Basically, they are at each other's throats, calling each other all sorts of names on social media, making all sorts of charges, the worst of which, the most sensational of which, has just unfolded as Elon Musk has tweeted that Donald Trump is on Jeffrey Epstein's list of important men who enjoyed the billionaire's favours. In other words, the allegation is that Donald Trump, among other important men, was flown down by Jeffrey Epstein on his plane, nicknamed the Lolita Express, to his Caribbean islands, where he allegedly could have enjoyed the favours of young women. You know about that because, of course, Prince Andrew's name was involved as well. He ended up paying Virginia Roberts, as she was then, Virginia Giuffre, $12 million not to go to court about it. He denies any wrongdoing. Virginia Giuffre, of course, only recently took her own life, which is very sad. So we'll try and keep you abreast of that. But and also we'll be taking your calls later as well. 03444 991 1000. Now we need to talk about Meghan. We need to talk about Harry. Extraordinary times. Extraordinary times. What on earth is going on with Ms. Markle, the Duchess of Disaster? God knows. Perhaps my next guest, the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, the legendary Kinsey Schofield over there on the West Coast, can help us. Welcome, Kinsey.
Hey, Kev. Yeah, I am covering the Epstein files. I covered them because of Prince Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein. And I talked to Barry Levine, who is the author of The Spider.
I know Barry. Yeah. He used to be on the National Enquirer, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I talked to him quite a bit. I talk to him regularly because of his book and all of the research he's put into Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And he's told me for a while to not get my hopes up about actually getting any sort of clarity when it comes to the Epstein files, because he said, there's a pretty good chance Donald Trump's name is somewhere in there. So I'm not surprised by these revelations, but I think that these are two people that, when it comes to Musk and when it comes to President Trump, that are capable of doing such good, have proven that they're capable of doing good. And I wish that they would put their energy elsewhere versus this ego, this
clash of the egos. The egos have landed. Well, how is America reacting to this extraordinary spat on social media between the two of them? As I've been reporting, everybody always said that this kind of strange relationship, the first buddy and his mate, the president, that it would end in tears. This town is not big enough for those two egos. But we didn't think it would end quite this acrimoniously. What are people in America thinking about this? I mean, it's pretty extraordinary, isn't it?
It is, and it's interesting because you wonder if Elon just got sick of being the punching bag that he's become. I mean, think about all of the Tesla dealerships that have been vandalized since he started to work with Donald Trump, the Teslas themselves. There was somebody that worked in the Democratic Party that was caught vandalizing Teslas, and the DA let them off with a warning. I mean, we've seen Elon's personal brand and professional brands really tank. And this is the same man that helped rescue the astronauts that were stuck in space, and still he has been seen as such a villain. I don't know what's going on in his personal life. You mentioned some of the reports about potential drug use, things like that. But I do wonder if he just got absolutely fed up with being the fall guy and decided, this is an all-out war, and this is how I want to change the direction of my legacy.
Yeah.
Because this is history. We're watching history being made right now.
We sure are. And it was only last Friday, wasn't it, when Donald Trump handed Elon Musk the keys to the golden key to the White House in gratitude for his Doge efforts over the last 6 months. This was against the backdrop of the New York Times' allegations that for most of this 6 months, Elon Musk has allegedly been off his head on drugs, ketamine, cocaine and mushrooms. Now, as far as I understand it, Mr. Musk stringently denies this. But that was going on. But it was just last Friday that Donald Trump was basically saying, never mind about that. He shut the New York Times right down in the Oval Office. Don't want to talk about that. So they were still friends then. But boy, oh boy, has that friendship ended in fury. I mean, what we're seeing now is just unprecedented. The president and his former right-hand man just going at each other, hammer and tongs on social media, culminating in this incendiary, explosive revelation or accusation by Elon Musk that Donald Trump is on Epstein's list of shame. Let's before we get your take on this, Kinsey, really glad I got you on this, by the way. This is Donald Trump talking about his disappointment in Elon Musk.
You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk, and even with the black eye, I said, do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so, which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, he became a little bit different, and I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody, and he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Well, there you are, Kinsey, and I think that was prior to Elon Musk suddenly saying, guess what, Donald Trump's on Jeffrey Epstein's list of shame. We don't know the veracity of that, of course, but it was quite a charge to make. So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, we also have to acknowledge that there are a lot of high-profile people on there. I know that this is... We're talking about it because he's the current president, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw former presidents on that list, lots of high-profile celebrities. Prince Andrew was, like, not the peak of who Jeffrey Epstein associated with. He's just... You know, he's one of the biggest names because some of the alleged victims have come out and accused him specifically of things. But, you know, Prince Andrew is not the most powerful or important person that Jeffrey Epstein associated with. There will be, if we ever get to see the names on that list, there will be a lot of surprises.
Certainly will be. And if Donald Trump is on that list, I suppose now... it won't be quite such a surprise, but it will be a really bombshell development. Again, can I ask you, I mean, how is this playing over there? Is America transfixed by this ongoing fallout?
Yeah, it's like a ping pong game. what next where, you know, now I got to look at Truth Social. Now I got to go over here to Twitter. Now I got to look over here to Truth Social. It's definitely a ping pong game, war of words. Elon has come out since that statement from Trump, and he said, this was like passed in the dead of night. I had no idea what was in this bill. And I do have to give Elon credit when it comes to the election of President Trump. Like he said on Twitter, he said, I don't think that he would have been elected if it weren't for me. There's some truth to that, because I've watched multiple episodes of Joe Rogan where Elon's there talking about government waste and talking about the things that how Trump wants to clear the swamp and all of these things. He did have a powerful advocate in Elon, and with Elon, they managed to attract a different genre. They managed to attract a different base that I don't think, like the Joe Rogans of the world, were willing to give Donald Trump, Theo Vaughn, some of these guys. I just don't think they would have ever considered that something that they would have been interested in, sitting down with him. And then millions of people were listening to Donald Trump for the first time in these long format chats. I do think that there's some legitimacy to Elon saying, how ungrateful when I helped get you to where you are.
Yeah, and there was always, tell me what you think, but there was always something a little bit OTT about this relationship, particularly on Elon's side. Do you remember when he started tweeting, I think I love Donald Trump, he's the greatest guy ever, and so on. It was just a little bit overstated, this friendship,
This bromance.
Yeah,
yes.
This bromance, almost to an uncomfortable extent. And I think that's why certainly people like us in the media, but I think American citizens generally, just looked at this and thought, this isn't normal. Something is going to have to give in this relationship, and it certainly has.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially to, some would argue with me, a lot would argue with me, self-made individuals. I know Donald Trump had a lot of help from his family, but to people that have had success in the business world, who seem the art of the deal, compared to Kamala and Joe Biden, it did seem, and the joke was that J.D. Vance was not the VP. The joke was it was Elon.
Yeah.
There did seem to be more strength behind this party than the alternative. When you looked at Sleepy Joe or Kamala, who was struggling to string sentences together, needed that teleprompter so desperately, and was only doing, very handpicked, curated media opportunities that were just sheer puff pieces. You had these two fiery guys that seemed to have accomplished things separately, and you thought, wow, how, together, imagine what they could accomplish. Unfortunately, we need them to pump the brakes because they're being incredibly destructive to not just each other, but their own legacies right now at this very moment while their fingers are on their keyboards.
Absolutely, Kinsey. Now, listen, this story is broken unexpectedly, of course. Do you mind if we go to break now and bring you back afterwards and return to our normal topic of Meghan Markle? Because it's been one hell of a week for the Duchess, hasn't it? Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'll see you there.
All right, brilliant. See you after this break.
we've discovered a £30 million bridge to nowhere in Lincolnshire County Council, run by the Tories, believe it or not. So much for their competence, and the waste everywhere is shocking. The question is how much of it we can cut out quite quickly. So I'm very happy to stand on our track record as successful business people. I don't think Mr. Stride has run a multi-billion-pound multinational business listed on the stock market where the share price tripled in 4 years under, guess what? Under my stewardship.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, we had a kind of a change of plan, so it was great to talk to Kinsey Schofield about a serious news story, this growing spat between the President, Donald Trump, and his former best buddy, Elon Musk. They've fallen out spectacularly, throwing insults at each other on social media, and Elon Musk concluding with a dynamite allegation that Donald Trump's name is on Jeffrey Epstein's list of shame. So we've just been talking about that, and really good to talk to Kinsey about this. But let's get back to Meghan, because, I mean, you know, you could say, and now for something far less important. But seriously, it's been
But it is equally disturbing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's been an extraordinary week for Meghan, even by her normal standards, culminating in this video. We're going to play it now and we'll talk it through. So this was Meghan and Harry, allegedly 4 years ago. There she is, pregnant with Lilibet, you know, twerking in a really weird way. You got Harry will come in a minute. There he goes. I think one of the most telling moments, Kinsey, was just before this. You could see them preparing, you know, getting in their positions, ready to make this film. Now, this is apparently 4 years ago. They posted it, or she posted it yesterday on Instagram to mark Lilibet's 4th birthday. This came after a picture, a photo she posted on Instagram of her and Lilibet in black and white, so you couldn't see Lilibet's ginger hair. But this was like, you could see daringly almost a third of her face and both eyes. So wow, that's a big development. So and then interviews, the last unexpected episode of Confessions of a Female Founder with Beyonce's mum, Tina Knowles. In other words, a blizzard of publicity activity. Let's all talk about Meghan. Why do you think she's doing all of this right now?
I think that she is just desperate for any relevance whatsoever. I mean, honestly, I'm exhausted. That video, you know, I forgot that Prince Harry mentions this dance in Spare.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's one sentence he writes in Spare about how the day, as they're getting ready for Lily to be born, they stuff their faces, they do a dance. You know, he doesn't go into the fact that they recorded it. I've seen some argue online that this is just Meghan being so socially savvy. This is just proof of how socially savvy she is. This is a trending, this was a trend that was happening 3 or 4 years ago on TikTok. To drop it 4 years later, I would not necessarily consider that I think you're, like most things Meghan does, a day late and a dollar short, you know. Also,
I like that.
They're recording this. They are doing a lot of mass recording themselves for Netflix. Harry's Freedom Flight video that's featured in the Netflix series. Doria following them around with cameras, Doria capturing them intimately watching the Oprah Winfrey interview together. So I don't think that this is necessarily a cute video that mom and dad save for later. I think that ultimately this is something that they tried to capture for the Netflix docuseries, because think about how desperate they were throughout that process to make people like them, to get their side of the story out. I do think that this is something that they would orchestrate so that people would be like, oh, stars just like us, like, you know, gyrating in their hotel room. But there's just such a lack of decorum here. It's such a, if everyone I talk to, all of the royal commentators and royal reporters that I've worked with throughout the years couldn't believe that it was real. They thought when I shared it, I was sharing an AI video.
That's my first thought, because you sent it to me, and I thought, is that them? That can't be them, and it is them. And here's my take on this blizzard of Meghan that has been inflicted on us this week. Right, let's get this straight. So suddenly she does this final unexpected episode of Confessions of a Female Founder. That podcast series has been a disaster, a real flop. In this, she talks about once again closing down as ever, thinking about bringing it back in another form. She's already given an interview saying, well, you know, I'm going to pause as ever to try to work out what it could be, as you and I noted earlier this week. Well, normally before you launch a business, you've already figured out what it might be, what it could be. So classic Meghan all over the place. All of this. So that proves the as ever isn't working. You know, it really isn't. The podcast series is over and very unlikely to come back. Then you've got as ever, or rather the Netflix series with Love Meghan, which will come back for a second series in September because they already filmed it. Now, even if, as we read, Netflix may bring back a third series, it'll be so what, who cares? That series basically has kind of failed. So my point is, she's got nothing really going on. She's got no particular form of income as far as we can see. So I think what she's doing here, Kinsey, is the classic resort of the desperate resort of the C-list celebrity. Just put yourself out there, make a hell of a lot of noise, make yourself talked about, get in the papers, get on the TV, you know, just create publicity about yourself so that somehow someone might say, hey, that Meghan, let's employ her for this job that we want. Let's get her to do this TV show. I think what we've seen over the past frenetic week of manic Meghan publicity is essentially a job application. Is there any work out there for me? Because I desperately need it, because it turns out that my husband's not a billionaire. He's barely a millionaire.
And you know what? Clearly, I'm willing to do anything because I'm a podcaster, I'm a calligrapher, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a children's book author. You know what? She's also likely, because I am, she's likely paid her Instagram post. You know, so she might, what might be motivating her, aside from all of these headlines, is Meta paying her.
Yeah, she must be. Actually, she must make a fortune out of those, because she, you know, people are interested and intrigued by her. There's no doubt about that. But do you agree with me that what she's trying to do is just sort of be in everyone's face so that something might crop up? This is essentially what we're seeing. Here's me with my baby. Here's us twerking. Here's my last podcast. Here's another interview. Here's another photo. It's a kind of give me a job application.
I do agree, but I also think this is actually who Meghan Markle is.
Yeah.
Because for years, well, first of all, this is the same girl that was auditioning for Shakira music videos. This is the same girl that's in the pilot episode of the Beverly Hills 90210 episode, popping her head up because her head was just in a man's lap. I mean, she does not have very high standards when it comes to securing any sort of work whatsoever. I think that she complained for almost 4 years about how she lost her voice, comparing herself to Ariel, the Little Mermaid, saying, "Oh, I'm so glad to have a voice now. I'm so glad to have a voice now." I think that she wants to put herself out there and has wanted to put herself out there as relentlessly as we've seen her in 2026 for the last 5 years. I don't know why it took her 5 years, but I think this constant verbal and, video and picture vomit fest that we're seeing is who she truly is and has wanted to be since she became the star that the royal family made her. But because before this, she was going to auditions, getting rejected.
C-list, she was serious, C-list. So what you're saying, Kinsey, is she's kind of addicted to being famous. She's desperate to be famous. So this ongoing whirlwind of activity, we can expect it to continue because she just wants to do stunts and stuff and pictures and films that will get her talked about, will get her in the papers. She just wants to be famous.
Right, because we haven't mentioned this inconsistency. I have made note this week that the only thing she is consistent about is hijacking royal milestones. For instance, next weekend, the King's birthday parade, Trooping the Color. The entire world will be watching. What is Meghan doing? Accepting another participation trophy from some gala in Los Angeles. That is one place where she is consistent. But everywhere else, there is a complete lack of consistency. We talked about the Fast Company profile where they say Meghan Markle needs time to evaluate what as ever is. She tells Tina Knowles in the last podcast drop, "I just want to hit pause and figure out what's next. I don't want to just restock and immediately sell out," similar to what she told Fast Company a few days before that when we saw the Fast Company profile. And then this week she announces, surprise, I'm restocking.
Yeah, she suddenly put it on Instagram that all the stuff, the scam jam and the cookie dough and the edible flowers, the honey, the tea, they're on. She suddenly posts, here they are, they're all available.
It's a complete contradiction to what she's been saying in the media. Now she's like, surprise, it is available. And, that, again, is she just looking for attention? Is she just looking for us to sit back and go, what? You're taking a break until 2026?
And now you're not? I mean, look, you know this, Kinsey, the golden rule of business is don't confuse your customers. Customers hate to be confused. They want things, the proposition from the people trying to sell them stuff to be simple. And she is delivering a whole world of confusion, isn't she? And that's not good.
A whole world of confusion and pelvic thrusts.
Yeah.
I could do without the thrusting. That I'll never unsee that video, that labor video. And when it comes to that video, do it. Do it. Watch it, laugh about it later in bed. But when you share it, you're cheapening the monarchy. You're ruining your own the very little mystique that you had left around you being a member of the monarchy. You're incubating a kid named Lilibet that you've hijacked this name from Queen Elizabeth. The least you can do is respect this woman, respect her institution, respect her name. I would be so angry if I was Queen Elizabeth and my name was somehow attached to her humping around video. I would not be thrilled.
Around. By the way, Kinsey, if you go to my timeline at TV Kev on X or Twitter, you can see my version of Harry and Meghan twerking. It's there. You have been warned. But a lot of columnists and royal watchers over here and commentators, first of all, they're very confused. They're saying this is just, even by Meghan and Harry's standards, this is really tacky. What on earth is going on? Well, I think you and I have gone some way to explaining why this is happening. I think A, as you say, she's addicted to fame. B, it's a kind of a sales technique. Here I am, keep her name in lights, then maybe people will buy her products. But the question to ask is, in what way does Meghan see this blizzard of publicity that she's putting out about herself and Harry? In what way does she see this as maintaining the privacy that she seems to think is so important? It's like, you know, if you and I start invading their privacy, if the media invade their privacy, that's, you know, that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. Harry fire off another one of his fatuous lawsuits. If they invade their own privacy, which they do with monotonous regularities we're seeing here, that's charming, that's fun, and also that's monetizable. That's, you know, their privacy saga is just hypocrisy. It's like, we want our privacy. No, we're invading our own privacy now. You can't invade our privacy. It's total hypocrisy, isn't it?
Well, again, I sometimes I know I give these two too much credit, but that story broke about how much money Prince Harry's little revenge pursuit for his security was released, and all of a sudden Meghan literally drops a video of her twerking, and she knew that, you know, that's going to be the story that's everybody's talking about. Now we're talking less about the amount of money that Prince Harry could potentially be costing taxpayers. So, I mean, I know I'm probably giving them too much credit, wondering if that was the objective in dropping such a salacious video. But no, I don't. I think that they have just become a parody of themselves.
Yes.
That show, this looks like something that would happen in that show, The Windsors, which is a silly show about the royal family.
The spoof, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what about him? Finally, Kinsey. Been great talking to you, by the way, for this extended special Kinsey Schofield documentary on a variety of subjects. What about Harry? What is going on with him? Anything at all?
What's going on with him? Well, we did hear that he is about to launch a commercial venture.
Oh, yeah.
Which completely contradicts the stories that were circulating earlier, that he was going to go full headfirst into philanthropy because he felt like that was going to be his way back into the royal family. If they saw him going, you know, full force into the philanthropy world, maybe they would soften to the idea of him coming back around. Well, not if he's got a tequila brand that he's trying to hawk, or a whiskey or something like that. I think that Meghan is fine. We've always thought of her as a deal or no deal girl, okay? Like, she was blink and you'll miss her being a working royal. But if Prince Harry tries to monetize his relationship with the royal family, we will not forgive him. He will stand out. It will stand out like a sore thumb. We know Meghan is a Kardashian. We've accepted that fact. But we do have higher expectations for Harry, and I do worry about whatever this commercial venture is, because I don't think that people will be willing to accept him trying to sell his family's name.
I agree with you, but I think he has to do it. As I said to you before, I think the story going forward with these two will be financial. It'll be a financial crisis, because, as we always say, there's no doubt about it, these two are living a billionaire's lifestyle, but they haven't got billionaires' money. At best, they've got millionaires' money, and I think that's
maybe Meghan can take up dancing, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I wasn't so not impressed with those moves. They were pretty good.
Yeah, professional twerker, the two of them, couple of twerks. There you are. Kinsey, brilliant stuff. Excellent. And you're coming over next week, aren't you? So
yes.
We will see you in old London town. Can't wait. See you next week. Bye. That's the brilliant Kinsey Schofield, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Let's go to break. When we come back, your calls. Let's get back to talking about Zia Yusuf, the Reform UK chairman, who dramatically resigned earlier this evening. Apparently upset with Sarah Potions, the new Reform UK's MP's debut question in the House of Commons about getting rid of the burqa, but we believe there's a lot more to it than that. So let me know what you think about the departure of the chairman of Reform UK. Will Reform UK get over this? Will they recover from this? Is Nigel Farage going to be too damaged, or will he, just like he did after Rupert Lowe quit dramatically, will he steer the party towards full recovery and continue their rise and rise? Let me know what you think. 03444991000. But also Donald Trump and Elon Musk at each other's throats. Elon Musk saying that Donald Trump's name is on Jeffrey Epstein's list of shame, the VIP guys that he flew down to that sordid island, the Caribbean island, on his aeroplane, his private jet that was nicknamed the Lolita Express because it was full of underage women. So if you want to talk about that, give me a call. You know the number, 0344 499 1000. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Right, let's go straight to the phones. We've got another 20 minutes or so. At 10 o'clock, I will hand over the helm of the Good Ship Talk to the great Andre Walker and the even greater Ash Gould. So, no, they're both just as great as one another. I don't want to upset Andre. So they'll be coming into this studio at 10 and taking you through to the small hours all the way to 1 a.m. It's going to be a great show. There's a hell of a lot to talk about. Well, let's talk about some of these stories now. Chris in Epsom. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Kev, how you doing?
All right, what would you like to say?
Right, I've got a question for you, all right?
Okay.
You got to put yourself in this position. You've gone for an interview as a production assistant on a show.
Right.
And the interviewer says to you, a royal couple that have left the country for privacy have released a twerking video on Instagram looking like a couple of cheap rent influencers.
Yeah.
Also, the President of America has fallen out with his best mate. He said he wasn't happy with losing his subsidies for EVs.
Yeah.
And the best mate has come back and said, no, you're a paedophile.
Essentially,
and the chairman of the fastest growing political movement in over 100 years in this country resigns and takes his head of Doge with him.
Yeah.
Now, that's the scenario. Can you put the show together?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you should say that. That's exactly what we've had to do tonight. We've had to sort of completely rip our show to bits and make it up as we go along. To be honest, you're absolutely right, Chris. This is an extraordinary night. Reform UK, the Royals, and now Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's one of those nights where it is all going on. You're absolutely right. Well, what have you got any view on, never mind about Donald and Elon, any view on Zia Yusuf for the Reform UK chairman quitting?
Yeah, because of everything else that's happened. Nigel's just popped a bottle of champagne because he realised he's been knocked out of the front page and everything's going to be on telly.
I hadn't thought about that, but trust me, he won't be knocked off the front page. But certainly the Elon and Donald stuff will mean that he'll have to share the front page. I think you're right about that. It's news for you, Chris, and I'm just doing my job, reporting the facts. Good to talk to you, mate. Good to talk to you. Thank you so much, Chris, in Epsom. Let's go to Nigel, the appropriately named Nigel in Peebles. Hello, Nigel. What would you like to say?
Hello, Kevin. Well, it's changed what I was going to say. 2 hours ago, I was going to say, well, if Nigel gets Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe back on board, the party will be absolutely flying.
Yeah.
But now I hear he said he'd rather eat razor blades.
Well, look, Nigel, I know that a lot of people, I know Rupert Lowe and I know Ben Habib very well, so a lot of people who are committed to the Reform project, if you like, Reform Party members, best part of 300,000 of them, and Reform supporters, millions of them around the country, they're sort of like desperate for Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib to come back. But let me tell you, it may disappoint you, it is never, ever going to happen. Do you get that?
Well, that's so sad because...
Well, it is sad, but it isn't going to happen. That's politics.
Yeah, well, I just see Reform going backwards now. If they could have found a way through this, they could have been up to 40% popularity. But now they'll go backwards because it's hard to believe. OK, put it this way. Can you see Robert Jenrick, who otherwise might have joined Reform, joining Reform and thinking my career could be gone at any moment on a whim?
Well,
it's not going to happen.
Well, wait a second.
They could have had Suella Braverman. They could have been absolutely...
Well, we don't know. They might still get them. I mean, you know, I know it seems like a kind of massive political earthquake, and it is a big story, and it is damaging for Reform UK. But Zia Yusuf quitting, in about 2 weeks' time, no one will be talking about it. They'll recover from this.
It could have been positive. It could have been, you know, I listened to Isabel saying, yeah, they'll probably recover from it.
Well, they won't probably, they definitely will. I mean, you know, and it recovers probably the wrong word. They'll just get over it. It's what happens in politics. You have these explosions, then the dust settles, and within a week, hardly anybody can remember it. So it seems massive at the moment, but I don't think it will be in the long term.
I think Nigel can be his own worst enemy. It's like his comment about Putin to Nick Robinson. When Nick Robinson trapped him on that one, all he needed to say was, a week is a long time in politics, 5 years is a lifetime. And that would have been the end of it. But he cost himself votes and seats by standing by what he'd said about Putin in the past.
But they didn't do that badly in the local... Yeah, but they didn't do that badly in the local elections, did they? And in that by-election.
They should have done better.
They should have done better. What, 630 seats or whatever it was?
They could have had a
taken a Labour seat that had a 14,000 majority, a massive safe. I don't think actually, Nigel, in terms of those elections, they actually could have done better.
All right, maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe they couldn't have done better. They did brilliantly well.
Yeah.
But they have to build, and they won't build if they keep upsetting people.
Well,
they had an opportunity here to mend bridges and bring... Look,
I agree with that. At the moment, they're projecting a rather a disparate image, and they're not... It looks a bit of a mess at the moment. It looks like the parties have got a discipline problem, and there's obviously internal rows going on. Zia Yusuf hasn't just quit because of Sarah Pochin's burqa question in the House of Commons yesterday. There's much more to it than that. Although I think he is upset by that. He called her dumb.
Well, I think that it's indicative of all kinds of things that are wrong. It's indicative of where Rupert Lowe said they should have had policies. Of course they should. Isabel was saying they've only got 5 MPs, they can't have a shadow cabinet. But of course they could have a shadow cabinet because they've got loads of people waiting to stand as MPs. They could be the shadow cabinet. They don't have to be an MP.
What are they going to do with those, the other ones? What are they going to do with them? Pay them or not? I mean, a lot...
No, look, I would do, if I was standing for reform in the next election, I would do it for free. I'd be perfect.
Yeah, but a lot of people can't afford. A lot of people can't afford that, Nigel. A lot of people need to be paid for their work.
Either, if we look at it that way, but I'd do it for the country. And I think Nigel Farage sometimes can just be a touch too arrogant. I think there's razor blade comments.
Well, look. But you should bear in mind. What would reform be without Nigel Farage? They need Nigel Farage. He is, their lifeblood. He is their charismatic spearhead. And don't worry, Nigel, don't worry. If you're worried about reform, trust me, in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, this will all be forgotten. It looks bad right now, but I predict that the project will continue, and I suspect their support will rise and rise and rise. These things happen in politics, and they always die down in the end. But I take your point. Any reform supporter tonight who's thinking this is nothing, well, that's wrong. You shouldn't be complacent about this, but it is by no means terminal. It really isn't. That's my view anyway. Listen, Nigel, good points. Good jousting with you. Keep in touch. Call me again. Nigel in Peebles there. Let's go to break now. I'll take more of your calls after this break.
Why is there this unique obsession with victims in Gaza?
Britain is the direct contributor to the war effort that Israel is...
1% of weapons used by Israel.
Britain isn't contributing to what's happening in Sudan.
We don't care about those babies dying.
It's not that we don't
Well, it is.
care.
We don't care about it. It's not on the... Are we discussing it now?
The main demand of the demonstrators and the protesters is that Britain stops its complicity in the genocide.
If it was a genocide...
Again, this is... You're still that Japanese fighter fighting...
No, I just know what words mean.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I'm indebted to Stuart Brown here. He sent me a WhatsApp text pulling me up. He's quite right. During my conversation earlier with Isabel Oakeshott, we talked about the BBC and its misreporting, its ridiculous propaganda, Hamas-style reporting of the Gaza conflict, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine and all that. But I was wrong, as Stuart has pointed it out. He said, Kev, how dare you attack the BBC? After all, the British taxpayers enjoy being threatened with prison and being forced to pay the licence fee in order to have the BBC promote Hamas, Hezbollah and protect paedophiles. That's what you pay your licence fee for, isn't it? I mean, why don't they call Hamas terrorists? The moment the BBC refused, and they continue to refuse, to call that bunch of scumbag terrorists Hamas terrorists, that was the moment the BBC lost all validity in terms of their coverage of the Middle East, of this Gaza conflict, because quite clearly, by refusing to call this forbidden, prescribed bunch of terrorists, they proved they're pro-Palestine and anti-Israel. Simple as that. So, hey, BBC, you make your own bed and then you have to lie on it. Emphasis on the word lie. Right, let's go to Grace in London. Hi, Grace.
Hi. I passionately disagree with Musk about various things. I mean, contrary to his assertion, actually some US aid money was being spent on helping to save the lives of some of those vulnerable people, so I'm furious with him for ending that. But I do have in common with him that I have Asperger's, and I wonder if his having Asperger's may have led him to feel a great sense of excitement at being around someone who was such a big personality. Those of us who are diagnosed with having Asperger's, it's a form of autism. We don't necessarily have great social skills. We don't know the right thing to say. We're socially awkward, as you can tell by me talking now.
No, Grace, let me ask you this. It is part of, I'm really glad you called. It is part of the condition of Asperger's sufferers that they get very excitable.
No, not necessarily. My point is that if Musk has been possibly bullied in school, possibly not great at making friends and things later on.
He was bullied at school, by the way. He was.
Well, exactly. So I'm wondering if being around Trump, who is by contrast a big personality, who can get a lot of fans and a lot of people on side, if that for Musk, because Musk himself hasn't got lots of social skills necessarily, although he's obviously got plenty of other skills, if that might have made Musk feel like he wanted to be on Trump's side, because it meant that he could stand on a stage with a really popular person and have people cheering for him, in a way that he wouldn't have had earlier on in life.
Absolutely. This is really interesting, yes.
But actually, as much as Trump is great at getting people excited, that is not what's going to fix.
Do you, Grace, as an Asperger's sufferer, do you find yourself sort of latching on to other people? Because that's what, you're quite right, that's what it looked like with Elon Musk, that he sort of latched onto this guy like a limpet, and started sort of going really over the top and saying, I really love Donald Trump and all this kind of stuff. Can you recognise that as the sort of symptom of Asperger's?
Well, I'm not doing that myself with anyone, but I can kind of imagine that happening. That when you get the opportunity to have people being positive about you, then that can feel really great if you've not had that at other times in your life. But I really think that maybe similarly to Dominic Cummings now supporting Farage, having supported Boris, those of us who are kind of a bit autistic, we need to think about actual strategies and values for making a country better, rather than big personalities, because big personalities in themselves aren't what will resolve problems. I personally feel like a part of the reason that things have declined slightly in America over the last century and here in Britain is not just because of immigration, but because we've kind of lost some values. I think that one of the things that made the West great was that, as well as maybe doing some things in history that we shouldn't have done, we actually had some good values, such as caring for fellow human beings, turning the other cheek, loving our enemies, values that Jesus taught, for example, but that we now have abandoned in the West. And I think that the abandoning of those values is part of the reason that things have declined. Whereas people like Donald Trump are saying, oh, let's just, be great again by doing this, that, and the other with taxes. Actually, I think it's a loss of values and caring about other human beings that has made America and our country decline, not just the kind of the political things or the personality things that these leaders are suggesting.
That's brilliant. Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, do you recognise the symptoms that you, I don't know whether endure, if you like? Do you recognise them in Elon Musk?
Yeah, to some extent. I think there's a lack of understanding of how other people feel and think is what. Yeah,
because sorry to interrupt. You see Musk, around on the stage, around Donald Trump, just generally when he's standing in the Oval Office, when he's connecting with other people. There's something very awkward about him and not quite right. You recognise that?
Yeah, I'm certainly. I mean, I'm definitely not on stage or around other people all that much.
Well, you are in a way. You're on TV.
But I think that rather than just kind of looking to get affirmation from a crowd, we need to think about what ultimately matters. And I worry that in seeking to kind of get some positive affirmation, he might not have considered the fact that actually you need sensible policies in politics, and you also need, ultimately, you need to grounding values, and just trying to, make your candidate succeed or trying to feel proud of your own achievements won't ultimately make a society great. I think our society and America's society needs to think about valuing other human beings.
Totally, absolutely. Listen, Grace, will you ring again? Will you keep in touch? I hope you will. That was amazing. One of the best calls I've ever had. So thank you very much for ringing. Grace in London. Wow. Wow. Amazing call. Ash is in the studio. How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. We put her on up against Ken, Ken in London, the born-again Christian.
Oh, so you know Grace, do you?
Yeah, she calls. She's very
bright,
good,
isn't she? Yeah.
Tonight we got first whole hour, we got Professor Dave Starkey.
Okay, right. So, well, there's a lot to talk about.
There's a hell of a lot.
Have you seen what, apart from, obviously, Zia